Hello, welcome to the Warframe Collective. Now, I know some of you guys are gonna hear this and you're gonna think I'm smoking some shit, but hear me out. The Gauze is better than the Kuva Nukor. Hold on, one sec. Let me get this dumb robot out of my way. Anyway, like I was saying, guys, the Gauze is so nasty. It is better than the Kuva Nukor. Now, let me explain. One thing that makes the Gauze better than the Kuva Nukor is the acquisition. The Gauze can be obtained on Fortuna, and it's a lot easier to complete Fortuna than to complete all the prerequisites for the Kuva Nukor in Kuva Lich hunting. Now, if we look at the base stats for the Gauze, you can see the Gauze has a base 39% crit with a 2.3 times crit multiplier and a 17% status chance. And we're gonna be testing this out with no mods before we put a build on it, just so you can see the base damage of the Kuva Nukor versus the Gauze. Don't worry about the arcanes because they won't be a factor in the first test we do. So we're gonna head over to the terminal and we're gonna start by spawning in some level 160 heavy gunners just to see what the weapon performs like at base. Now, as you can see, when you shoot an enemy with the Gauze, the beam acts just like the Kuva Nukor does, and it spreads out to any nearby enemies in the area. So as you can see, we're hitting for some 2s, we're hitting for some 18s, and we're hitting for some 9s. And that is the base damage of the Gauze. Whereas the Kuva Nukor, if we look at the base stats, the Kuva Nukor has a 7% crit chance with a 5 times crit multiplier and a 50% status chance. And the Kuva Nukor is absolutely no slouch whatsoever. We're gonna do the exact same test to begin with before we put a build on these weapons, where we're gonna see what the weapon performs at base against 3 level 160 heavy gunners. So, one thing about the Kuva Nukor is, as you're shooting the Kuva Nukor, you could send a lot of firepower down range before you even have to think about reloading. So as you can see, this is what the weapon performs like at base. Very similar to the Gauze, because these weapons are basically the same, but I'm telling you, the Gauze is just a little bit better when it comes to overall damage output. So this is the build we are going to be running on the Kuva Nukor. And just to be fair, because I know some people are going to be like, oh, but you're not using max corrosive damage. We're going to go ahead and take that jolt off, and we are going to swap jolt out with convulsion to really bias our corrosive proc. And we're going to use the exact same build on the Gauze. So, reason number 2 why the Gauze is better than the Kuva Nukor. The Gauze is capable of using PAX mods, PAX Seeker, PAX Charge, PAX whatever the fuck. You can put it on the Gauze, whereas the Kuva Nukor doesn't have access to those arcanes. So as you can see, with this build, we can melt enemies like nothing with the Kuva Nukor, because the Kuva Nukor is absolutely no slouch. There's a reason why it's everybody's favorite weapon. So the Kuva Nukor performs especially good in a group setting. So as you can see, as we just spray these guys, our beam hits any enemies in the area, and these guys just get put down like nothing. Now, the next reason why the Gauze is better than the Kuva Nukor is simply because the Kuva Nukor is so popular. So when it comes to Rivens for these weapons, it's a lot harder and a lot more expensive to get a Nukor Riven than it is to get a Gauze Riven. You can probably get a Gauze Riven for like 50 plat. Whereas a Kuva Nukor Riven is going to cost you a lot more than 50 plat. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna spawn in some level 160 Eximus units, because you know Eximus are those tanky boys, and we're gonna see how the Kuva Nukor performs. And as you can see, the Kuva Nukor, it kind of falls off once you're dealing with Eximus units, but it still absolutely eats through these guys. And once you start stacking your arcane on top of that, you're gonna kill these enemies even faster. So as you can see, the Kuva Nukor is deadly as fuck. And once again, there's a reason why it's everybody's favorite weapon. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna head back to these corrupted heavy gunners, and we're gonna use Yoreli's passive ability, her critical flow buff, which is gonna give us 200 extra critical chance as long as we're moving around. And as you can see, when used in conjunction with Warframe abilities, these weapons are going to perform even better. Yeah, the Kuva Nukor is no bitch. And that's for damn sure, guys. But wait, I thought this was supposed to be a video about how the Gauze is better than the Kuva Nukor. Well, I am going to show you guys, we're going to use the exact same build with the exception of Pack Seeker, for the simple fact that the Kuva Nukor cannot use Pack Seeker. We're going to use the exact same build we had on the Kuva Nukor, and as you can see, our crit chance is at 117%, and we have a 4.4 times critical multiplier. And I know the Kuva Nukor has a higher critical multiplier, but the thing is, it's really not going to make a difference. So here we are, the same 160 heavy gunner. And as you can see, as we shoot these guys in the face, that Pack Seeker just absolutely eats into these guys. Yeah, so when it comes to sheer damage output, the Gauze is no bitch, and in my opinion, it's better than the Kuva Nukor. Now we're gonna test it out against some level 160 Eximus units, and let's see how the Gauze performs. Let's see what this weapon does. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna wait till our stacks of secondary merciless decay. That way we have no buffs going, and here we go. Bam. As you guys can see, the Gauze absolutely melts these guys, and you're already orange critting, right? You're already orange critting, so you're more than halfway there in terms of critical damage. But yeah, the Gauze is no bitch whatsoever. The only thing the Kuva Nukor has on it is the Kuva Nukor can fire for longer. But wait. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna test this with Yoreli's critical flow buff. So we're gonna move back and forth, get that 200% in critical chance. And as you can see, it just eats through these guys like it's nobody's business. And I'm gonna head over here to the Eximus units, but it would appear that I am out of ammo. So now, we're gonna test this out with Yoreli's critical flow buff, and as you can see, it just absolutely destroys these guys. And Yoreli's probably not the best Warframe to use with this weapon, but in a controlled environment, yeah, this thing absolutely shreds in conjunction with Yoreli's passive. So now, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna throw in the independent variable, right? What we are going to do is we are gonna see what this weapon performs like with a Riven on it. So I have to move my mods around a little bit in order to get the exact polarity slot I need for this Riven. But this is the build we are going to be running. As you can see, this knocks our critical chance and our critical damage up. And it's gonna be nasty, guys. It's gonna be absolutely nasty. We're gonna do the same test that we just ran with the Kuva Nukor and the Gauze, but this time we are going to use our final form build. and let's see how the weapon performs. So, another reason I believe the Gauze is better than the Kuva Nukor is because when you complete all the prerequisites you need to start farming Kuva Liches, you still have to roll the dice in order to get a Lich that is holding the Kuva Nukor. Trust me, you will end up in a situation where you are farming Liches and you're going for the Kuva Nukor, and it turns out your Lich isn't holding the Kuva Nukor, but he's holding the Kuva Brahma. And it's like, oh shit, well, I want the Kuva Brahma, so I guess I'm gonna go for that one. But guess what? Now it's gonna be even longer before you get yourself a Kuva Nukor. So the Gauze is right there on Fortuna. It's just a matter of ranking up on Fortuna, which will take you less than a week. And the thing is, when you rank up on Fortuna, every time you rank up, you're offered a reward. A lot of times they'll offer you a kit gun part. So what that means is you can start accruing kit gun parts before you even complete Fortuna. That way, when you do reach the final rank or something, maybe you'll only have one kit gun part left that you need. Anyway, we are on the still path. This, like I said, Ureli is probably not the best Warframe to use this with because the build I have on her, every time I use her first ability, it increases my fire rate, and that just prematurely dumps all the ammo of this weapon. So I probably shouldn't be using Ureli with this, but I wanted to see how it performs against an Acolyte. But the thing is, it absolutely shreds an Acolyte because I've done it before, I've done it several times. But at some point I kind of lose track of the Acolyte because he starts attacking the enemy, so I guess he's affected by the radiation damage. And because Ureli's prematurely ejaculating all my ammo, I actually run out of ammo for this, and I'm having trouble just getting enough ammo to melt this guy. But anyway, you guys get the picture, you know what I mean. The Gauze will absolutely melt these guys. It will absolutely melt most of anything on the still path as long as you're using the right Warframe with it. And I think you guys should pick one up. Anyway guys, thank you for listening to me ramble on. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, and have a beautiful day. Thank you guys so much. Peace.